Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon, sir.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon,
sir.
sir. Good afternoon. Uh, Actually, I joined in the previous meeting in between, just at the end. Uh, what I found was there was a query related to something related to pH meter or pH measurements, and I think Jay Kishan asked something. Uh, Jai Kishan,
Yes, sir.
can you hear? Yes, yes. So
Yes,
I
sir.
suppose you had a query regarding pH. What do we actually measure with a pH
pH
meter,
electrode, sir. Yes, sir.
pH electrode, and your query was something like, do we measure concentration or do we measure activity? This was your question, right, Jai Kishan?
Yeah, because at some it is mentioned that they measure the activity of H plus ions, and
Hmm.
in some articles it is deliberately mentioned that no, they measure the conductivity. And
Conductivity or
surprisingly, sorry,
conductivity
sir,
or conductivity or concentration?
activity of H plus ions. Yes.
No, 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 no. Let me make things clear. One is activity of H plus ions,
Yeah,
and
pH
second is
electrodes measure the activity, and the second is pH electrodes actually measure the conductivity.
not conductivity, concentration.
Okay.
There must be something which is unclear here.
या सर उसमें एक्चुअली इफ आई कैन वो
Hmm,
कंडक्टिविटी में एक्सप्लेन कैसे किया है कि फॉर
hmm.
एग्जांपल इट मेजर्स द करंट इन रिस्पांस टू द अप्लाइड पोटेंशियल एंड दैट इज द डेफिनेशन कंडक्टिविटी तो वो भी राइट है सर
No, 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 no,
बिकॉज
no, 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 no. This is correct. This is correct. What you said previously is correct. It is not conductivity. See, it is. I'll tell you. See, in conductance, the principle is different. Within two plates of which are about 1 centimeter apart, you find the transport of ions, right? But in pH
राइट
meter, this is not the case. This is not the case. What you have read somewhere where it is mentioned conductivity, it is not conductivity. It is written it should be concentration. See, there are two things which you measure, which you can measure essentially from a pH meter. One is activity, which you actually measure, and the other
यस सर
is concentration. See, there could be, and what you correctly said was they measure the current and they measure the potential. Exactly, they measure the potential. There has to have, see,
राइट
this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell, so it will have a potential. It has a reference electrode, silver chloride electrode, and your glass electrode. So it becomes a
राइट
cell. So it will definitely have a potential. But for every potential change of about 0.59, there will be a change of 1 pH unit. This is what it signifies from the Nernst equation. From the Nernst equation. So, what is your, I mean, query is, what I feel is first of all pH measures your hydrogen concentration or activity, whatever may be the case, and secondly the potential. That is correct. That is perfectly fine. We are not bringing in conductance here. We are not bringing in, because the principle is totally different from there, from in conductance and in pH meter. Now my answer to your query, if it is activity or concentration, is it is activity. The only concern my is at some place where you find that it is written as concentration, not conductivity,
राइट
concentration. It is only when the solutions are extremely dilute. But
राइट
it never happens that solutions are always very dilute in terms of ionic strength. I'm talking about in terms of
राइट
ionic strength. So when the concentration is little higher, it can be say zero point 0.1 or 0.01, and less could be 0.00001. So in that case, because the concentrations are different, but the pH calibration is the same, pH is glass electrode is the same, and that is when it is said that for higher concentrations, obviously you are measuring activity because of the higher ionic strength. But the moment the ionic strength decreases due to very low concentration of the H plus ions in solution, then what you measure is essentially activity becomes equal to concentration. And therefore,
ओके
few of the books, they mention that you measure concentration rather than activity. But in real terms,
Right.
you measure activity, and activity is equal to concentration into activity coefficient, and activity coefficient is again dependent upon the ionic strength.
Right.
So activity
So you can't
will
measure
be
the
equal
activity
to,
of hydrogen without knowing the other ion, the counter ion.
exactly, and that
Right.
is more apparent. That is more apparent when the concentration is high. When the concentration is very low, activity coefficient essentially becomes very close to 1, and therefore activity becomes equal to concentration, and hence they write it is you measure concentration. In some way you will write activity, but activity, the term activity is the correct term to be used what you measure from a pH meter, irrespective of the concentration.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the resolution.
Thank you, Jai Kishan. See, in case she is a very good, analytical chemist, Miss Archana George, and she gave that answer. I think she told you also about that that it is activity which you measure, but possibly the conductance term was little bit, discerning that it came into pH meter. Anyway, since it is resolved, and I just wanted to say in front of everyone, it is just because for the only reason that everybody else also should be clear with these concepts when you, and it is good that you people are asking such questions, and I really welcome you people and encourage people like you who are willing to ask questions. It is not that we know everything, but then whatever we know, we'll be very happy to share with you. Okay, now I'll just begin with my presentation here. I'll just share my screen. Let me see what is visible here. Okay, acha. Now you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Can you tell me where we stopped? I have honestly forgotten where I stopped here. Did we do something about bulk analysis, etc., surface analysis? I just this. Okay, we did this, I suppose, and we wrote few questions as well, I suppose. I don't remember, but did I give you some MCQs while during my lecture? No. Anyone aware of?
No, sir. You were about to.
no, sir.
No. Okay. I think I did that in GIA then. In that case, I gave them around 9 MCQs, and actually their lecture comes after yours. Yours comes on Wednesday, and theirs on on Thursday. So possibly I did that on Thursday. But okay. But those questions, see, I have not prepared anything. But just looking at the slide, I give you some MCQs, and I gave them around 9 MCQs last time. I'll ask them to share with you people as well, because I don't remember actually what I said that time. Okay, I did this part. This was completed. This slide.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This was also done.
Yes, sir.
Okay, possibly this was also, because these are not exactly into your syllabus, but still I have tried to fit in these things as well. Instrumental analysis. Okay, then in that case, I'll just go to, okay, I have done this as well. Yes, homogeneous, heterogeneous, and replicate analysis. See, these three things are these 3 slides. This one, next, and the third one. These are very important slides as far as your analysis goes, or for you to understand as an analytical chemist that any sample which could be in any form, that sample will have your analyte and the matrix. Analyte could be one, there can be many analytes as well, and the matrix. Of course, matrix is something which is anything other than the analytes of interest or analyte of interest. So and then there are interferences. Interferences happen because of the matrix components. See, there could be certain matrix components which are totally inactive, and they don't take part in any reaction, any analysis. So those are dormant kind of matrix. But then there are certain compounds which are present in a given sample which might interfere with the analyte of interest or the analytes of interest. So there is a chance. So interference study is also a part of, when we do any kind of analysis. And then I talked about homogeneous samples and heterogeneous samples. We, as an analytical chemist, we always look for samples which are homogeneous, so that it becomes a true representative of the entire sample or the bulk. That means homogeneous इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि अगर homogeneous sample होगा तो जो हम analysis करेंगे वो सारे bulk sample की true representative हो जाएगी. So that is why we do that. Heterogeneous samples, solids are extremely heterogeneous. So you see, looking at this, I can just frame one MCQs. Which among the following is the most heterogeneous in nature? There could be one question. Looking at this slide is, which among the following is most heterogeneous in nature? So your list could be, your options could be, say liquid, it could be solid, second solid, third gas, and the fourth could be semi-solid. So your answer would be
solids.
No. What I said was, which among the following is most heterogeneous in nature? Heterogeneous in nature. And I said option 1, that is liquid. Option
semi-solid.
Let me finish and then you can answer. Option 1 is liquid, option 2 is solid, option 3 is gas, and option 4 is semi-solid. So your answer would be A, B, C, D. Which one?
Yes. Gas.
Jagdishan,
Gas would be homogeneous, wouldn't it? Gas and liquids would be most homogeneous, I guess. So.
Exactly. That is what I told you, that the most heterogeneous, inherently heterogeneous, is solids. Then comes semi-solid, then come liquids, and then come gas. So it follows this order. So your answer would be B.
Solids.
Second option. So this is how, see, you must be wondering, जैसे आप सोचते होंगे कि मैं सवाल किस तरीके से पूछूंगा. मैं सवाल इसी तरीके से पूछूंगा. Looking at the slide, I can prepare a suitable question with 4 possible answers, and then you are supposed to select one. This is how we are going to conduct our exam. And I have given about 9 to GIA, and I'll ask them to share this with you as well. So इस तरीके से मैं पूछूंगा. और then this is another part of analytical approach. That means, see, what this slide tells me is that as an analytical chemist, we don't come up with an answer by doing the experiment only once. So to be confident of what you have done, you need to do replicate analysis. Replicate मतलब कि हम एक ही sample की analysis बार-बार करते हैं, so that we become more sure. और जितनी ज़्यादा बार हम करते हैं उतना ज़्यादा confidence आता है हमको हमारे results पे. और इसीलिए statistics जब हम लगाते हैं तो उसमें हम confidence interval की बात करते हैं. I'll deal with such things in statistics in unit 2, but this is how we ensure more confidence in our results by replicate analysis. One thing. Secondly, by doing multiple sample analysis from different sources. So this is how the confidence in a method is reinforced. That we are more confident with certain methods when we do multiple samples from different sources, and secondly, when we repeat our samples. The same sample we measure again and again and again. As per standard guidelines, there should be at least 6 replicates. As per international standard guidelines, there should be at least 6 replicates to document your results. So you understand the importance of replicate analysis, and you also understand the importance of multiple sample analysis. Okay. अभी तक किसी को कोई डाउट है? So please, you can ask me. I'll be going little fast for the only reason that I have number of slides to cover, and I want to finish this unit as much as possible, well before your internal exam, so that you are able to prepare yourself for this unit. Anybody has any question? Hello.
No, sir.
No. Okay,
No,
only
sir.
one has said okay, okay. ठीक है भाई, अगर आप मुझे बताना, जैसे अगर मैं I am trying my best to be bilingual, but in between sometimes what happens is I speak more in English, but then you can always ask me to cut short this and go to another language, so I'll be happy to do that as well. Okay, now this is units of measurement. Now this is a very important aspect of your analysis, because what happens is we are not concerned, by and large are not concerned about units, which units to be used for different kinds of measurements. आप देखते हो आप कितने सारे measurements करते हो, कितने सारे पैरामीटर्स को मेजर करते हो किसी भी एनालिसिस के अंदर, और सब पैरामीटर्स की यूनिट्स होती हैं। तो कौन सी यूनिट्स होती हैं, कौन सी यूनिट्स लिखनी चाहिए, कौन सी यूनिट्स को यूनिवर्सल एक्सेप्टेंस है, those are the kind of things which I would like to share with this under the units of measurement. SI units of measurement system international is a thing which helps us in knowing what are the standard units of measurements, and for essentially for length, mass and time we have meter, not kilometer, we have meter. For mass we have kilograms, and for time we have seconds. Likewise, for temperature we have Kelvin. For amount of substance in moles, because we always do any chemical reaction with respect to moles, not weight, amount. We in grams, we do it in terms of moles. So moles, and that is how is the symbol MOL. And electric current, of course, which we may not be encountering much in our syllabus, but then still it is measured in amperes. It can be milliamperes, etc., but it is amperes. It can be millimoles, it can be milliseconds, those kind of things. It can be millimeters, but the standard unit is meter. Now these are the quantities, these are the quantities and their units, fundamental SI units with their corresponding definitions, how they are defined. So as I say, as I just mentioned, length, mass, time, electric current, temperature, etc. So these are the units and their corresponding definition. This is for academic interest. This is for academic interest, just for your knowledge, for your information. That's it. Then there are other set of derived SI units. There are other set of derived SI units, which include quantities such as frequency, force, pressure, electric potential, charge, electric charge, so on and so forth. And they have their corresponding units in hertz, Newton, pascals, etc. And when you convert them into the SI units, they take the form of per second, that is hertz. Force is equal to meter, kilogram per second square, so on and so forth. So this is how generally these are the expressions which we generally use for quantities like frequency, force, pressure, etc. And these are the corresponding units which we encounter. So these are SI derived units, and the fundamental base units would be something like this corresponding. So these are derived units from the fundamental units. And these are certain prefixes which one we all know. Deca means 10, hecto means 100, and kilo means 1000, and mega means 10 to the power 6, giga, tera, peta, exa, zeta, or iota. These are the prefixes and factors, corresponding factors which we use. And these are some of the conversion factors. This is again for academic interest. You will find this in at so many places, these conversion factors which are also available. At the same time, on the net, you can simply find a table where you can put in the unit and you will get in some of the units. So you can directly get conversion. Now, this is what I wanted to start today. Significant figures or significant digits. You have possibly studied this at some point of time, I suppose. The significant digits which you see when you use a calculator, for example, you get, I don't know how many digits in that. It can be 7 digits, 8 digits, 9 digits, 10 digits you get. But how many you are supposed to retain? Likewise, from an instrument, if you are getting some values, up to what decimal place or what significant digits you are supposed to retain the answer from a particular equipment. So to understand that, uh, there is something called significant digits which are to be retained in the final answer, or how we are supposed to count. The number of significant figures is the minimum number of digits needed to write a given value in scientific notation without loss in accuracy. So there are three aspects to this broad definition of significant digits or significant figures. These are minimum number of digits. These are not maximum number of digits, right? So we will dispense with the numbers which we get in a calculator or at some other place. So significant digits are a minimum number of digits needed to write a given value in scientific notation. What is scientific notation? Say, for example, if you have a value like 0.012 something. Now, if this is to be written in scientific notation, it would be 1.2 into 10 to power minus 2, something like this. So this is a scientific notation of writing a given value. And the third most important aspect of this definition is without loss of accuracy. That means when we write the significant digits in our answer, there should be no loss in accuracy, because accuracy is also important. Precision is important, yes, very important, precision, and accuracy comes next. That accuracy should also not be lost when we write a result, when we represent the digits in our final answer. So there are three aspects to significant digits or significant figures. Minimum number we are supposed to write. It should be written in scientific notation. And thirdly, there should be no loss in accuracy while writing an answer. Now, there are certain guiding principles or rules for having or counting the significant figures in a given value. The first rule is all non-zero numbers are significant. All non-zero numbers are significant. Now, as an example, I have 33.2. Looking at this and observing rule number 1, what we find is that it will have 3 significant figures. Very simple, which we all know. Second rule tells us zeros between 2 non-zero digits are significant. Zeros between 2 non-zero. See, this is the value I'm talking about. It has 0 in between 2 non-zeros, and therefore that means they are significant, and hence it has 4 significant figures. 0 in between is significant. The third point is leading zeros are not significant. Leading zeros means like this. These are the leading zeros. They simply hold the value for the decimal place. Hold the value for the decimal place. Leading zeros are not significant. The number 0.54 has only 2 significant figures. Obviously 0.54. And if you look at this value, it again has 2 significant digits, because when you write such numbers in scientific notation, it would be something like 3.2 into 10 to power minus 3, and 10 to power something is not counted in significant digits. So when you write this value, in scientific notation, following scientific notation, without loss in accuracy, what you do is you say that this value has two significant figures. The fourth rule is trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. See, this is important. Trailing zeros, these are the trailing zeros to the right of the decimal, on the right hand side of the decimal, are significant, I just remove the dot here, this is confusing. Okay, there are 4 significant figures in 92.00. Now you may wonder why these zeros are counted, are significant. Why these are significant is because this value tells us that the measurement scale or the instrument from which it has taken can show the value up to second place after decimal. So I cannot myself reduce the accuracy of that instrument. So I need to retain that accuracy, measurement accuracy from a particular instrument, and therefore 92.00 would have 4 significant figures or 4 significant digits. But when I look at a value called 92, it has only 2 significant digits. That means the equipment or the technique from where I've obtained this value of 92 cannot distinguish between 92.1 and 92. It can show me either 92, 93, 91, 94, 95, and therefore it has 2 significant digits. Is it clear? Is there anything which जहां समझ में नहीं आए वो मुझसे जरा प्लीज पूछ लेना कि जो समझ में नहीं आया, और if you ask me to repeat, so I'll be repeating that as well. Okay, trailing zeros in a whole number with a decimal shown are significant. Again, trailing zeros in a whole number. This is a whole number, trailing 0 with a decimal shown like this. This is the decimal. This is the decimal shown here. Placing a decimal at the end of a number is usually not done. We know that it is not. This is not the way in which we express our values. By convention, however, this decimal indicates a significant 0. Now there is a convention whereby any 0 before this decimal for a whole number indicate that there are this 0 is significant. This 0 is significant, and therefore you say that this value has 3 significant figures. It has 3 significant figures. When you look at the 6th rule, what it tells, there is a minor change, minor difference. Trailing zeros in a whole number with no decimal. Here it was with decimal. Here it was decimal. Here it does not have a decimal. It does not have a decimal. Indicates that the 0 is not significant, and hence it has 2 significant digits. Now, you might immediately say that, how can we say that it has 2 significant digits when it is a whole number? Correct. When you express this in scientific, yes.
सर 540 पॉइंट लिखा है ना डेसिमल, तो उसके बाद जीरो की वैल्यू तो होगी ना.
अब यही है, नहीं देखो, ये इसीलिए मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. मैंने आपको पहले बताया, दिस इज बाय कन्वेंशन. कन्वेंशन ये होता है, देखो क्या होता है कि आपने जो बताया कि उसके बाद पॉइंट के बाद कोई 0 वैल्यू होगी. यस, अगर होती है, सुनो, अगर होती है तो इसका मतलब है कि इसके बाद वाला सपोज है 1 या 0, चलो 0 पकड़े, तो कितने हो जाएंगे सिग्निफिकेंट डिजिट्स, बता सकते हो?
4.
You know, yes, correct. There will be 4 significant digits. What it tells us, this is by convention. Convention मतलब ये होता है कि एक चीज हम मान लेते हैं, सब लोग मिलके एक ऐसा मान लेते हैं, एक रेजोल्यूशन बन जाता है कि अगर ऐसी वैल्यू आएगी, इसका मतलब ये है कि ये वाला जो 0 है इसको हम सिग्निफिकेंट मानने लगेंगे, दिस 0 को हम सिग्निफिकेंट मानने लगेंगे, एंड देयरफॉर हम इसमें बताएंगे देयर आर 3 सिग्निफिकेंट डिजिट्स। कन्वेंशनली, ये कन्वेंशनली ये मान लिया गया है। प्रैक्टिकली कोई भी वैल्यू हम ऐसे कभी भी नहीं लिखते। दिस इज फॉर मेकिंग यू अंडरस्टैंड। आप कभी भी, आप कोई भी वैल्यू आपने आज तक ऐसे नहीं लिखी होगी, जब भी लिखी होगी तो इसके आगे भी एक डिजिट दिया होगा, 0 होगा, 1 होगा, 9 तक कुछ भी डिजिट होगा, राइट? लेकिन हम आपको ये सिर्फ ये कन्वेंशन है, ऐसे मान लिया गया है सब एक हार्मोनाइज्ड वे में कि किस तरीके से हम ऐसी वैल्यू को, इसमें सिग्निफिकेंट डिजिट्स अगर हमें बताना है तो उसको हम कैसे कन्वे करेंगे, क्योंकि वी ऑलवेज ट्राई टू ब्रिंग इन साइंटिफिक नोटेशन, राइट? साइंटिफिक नोटेशन, बिकॉज दिस इज अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट डेफिनेशन। सो देयरफॉर जब हम इसको लिखते हैं 540, we say that it has 2 significant digits. Now you can very well argue, as I said, when the value is 540, how can you say that there are only 2 significant digits? 0 has to be significant, otherwise 540 will become 54. 540 will become 54. So the next best thing would be to write it without loss in accuracy. So what I can do is 54.0 into 10 to power 1. So that would be the answer. So it will not, result in loss in accuracy. At the same time, you have expressed your answer in scientific notation. At the same time, you have given significance to that 0 after decimal now. So when you are being asked, you say that this value now has 3 significant digits. It has 3 significant digits. So that is what I wanted to convey through this. And the last two rules, exact numbers have an infinite numbers of significant figures. Now this is very, very important aspect, because the way in which you write your answer becomes very crucial. See, the example is 1 meter. This is again 1 meter. This is again 1 meter, and this is again 1 meter. If you go to measure 1 meter, all values are the same. But the way in which it has been expressed, it tells that the measuring device can measure up to 2 places after decimal, and therefore this will have 1 significant figure, this will have 3 significant figures, this will have 5 significant figures, and this will have, I don't know how many, infinite significant figures. However, numerically all 4 are the same. But this tells me that this value tells me that we have measured this with a device, with an equipment, which can give me reproducible results even after, say, 15, 17, 20 places after decimal. This is the extent to which you can rely on this device. Whereas if you look at this device, which gives you 1 meter, it can show you only 1 meter or 2 meters or 3 meters or 4 meters. It cannot give you anything in between, but this gives you something in between. This also gives you some in between, something more in between, and this gives something much more in between. So it has infinite numbers of significant figures. So it all depends upon how you represent your result. For a number in scientific notation, okay, n cross 10 to power x, all digits comprising n, that means significant digits are being counted from this n, not from 10 or not from x. That means nothing is counted from this. The only thing which is counted for significant digits is n. And therefore, for example, 5.02 into 10 to power 4 has 3 significant digits. It has 3 significant digits, right? This is not counted. This is not counted, and therefore these are not significant. Now, there is another example. Let's try writing out, this value 1100 with 3 significant figures. See, this value can be written in the form of 3 significant figures, 2 significant figures. By rule 6, 1100 has 2 significant digits, right? By rule 6, it has 2 significant figures, these two, right? But it all depends upon how you represent your result. Its 2 trailing zeros are not significant. If we add a decimal at the end, we have like this. We have 4 significant figures by rule 5. But by writing it in a scientific notation, see, 1.1 into 10 to power 1.10 into 10 to power 3, this gives you 3 significant figures. The same value, results can have different significant digits. The way it depends upon the measuring device, the sensitivity of the measuring device, and the way you express your results in your final answer. And from that, you give the number of significant digits. Now, this is again a simple example which you all know by now. 0 is significant here, this 0 is significant here, this 0 is significant here, and these 2 zeros are significant. These 2 zeros are significant here, but not this 0 is not significant, this is not significant, these 2 are not significant. This is a very interesting example here to understand significant figures and digits. See, the number 142.7 has 4 significant figures that we all know. Now, this can be written in a scientific notation in this format. Still, it has 4 significant figures. अभी भी इसमें 4 ही significant digits हैं. Now, if we look at this value, see, this shows that it has 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 significant digits. If it is written in scientific notation like this, again it has 4 significant figures. 4 significant figures, right? Now, even more interesting is this 92500. Now, this could be written in 3 different forms, 3 different ways. This, and this. All are the same. All are 92,500. But if you have written this way, 9.25 into 10 to the power 4, it gives you 3 significant figures for the same value. If you write it this way, 4 significant digits. If you write it in this form, it is 5 significant digits. So the way in which you express your results without loss in accuracy will ultimately decide how many significant figures or digits are to be retained in the final answer. Of course, when you write it in scientific notation. So this is what I thought of telling you about the backdrop of significant digits or figures. Now moving on, these significant figures have to be retained in different operations of addition and subtraction. Now this is a simple example. Now the rule is for addition and subtraction is retain as many digits to the right of the decimal in the final answer. Retain as many digits in the final answer after decimal, looking at the values which are used to undergo that operation, which has the minimum number of digits on the right of the decimal. अभी देखो, इसमें आप देखते हो तो क्या दिखता है 3 places after decimal and 3 places after decimal. So if you add, things are very simple. So you retain 3 places after decimal. So things are very simple. But we work with digits after decimal. We do not work with significant digits. We work with digits which are after decimal. How many to be retained? See it in the final answer. Now the thing is, it is not always possible to have both these values with the same number of decimal places. you will encounter so many cases where when you add something or even subtract something, different values will have different number of digits after decimal. So as the definition goes, insignificant digits, that is minimum number of digits, ઓછામાં ઓછા digits આપણને રાખવાનું છે. इसीलिए इसमें क्या है, किसी में इसमें 3 है, इसमें भी 3 है, so you keep 3 here. ठीक है. So the answer will have 4.473 into 10 to the power minus 4. That is fine. The next is, this is also simple. You have 3 digits, 3 digits is fine. You have 2 digits after decimal, 2 digits after decimal, fine. You have done subtraction, you have done addition. Now consider this molecular mass of KrF2. Now F has a molecular mass of this is what this value you obtain from your periodic table. Atomic mass 18.9984032. Again same, because it is F2, and plus you add Kr, that is 83.798. This means that in the final answer, so you simply add up all these three. Please don't remove these digits before performing the operation. Retain these digits in the operation, during the operation, and then you find out a value. You have this value, final value. Now retain as many digits with the value which has minimum fewest digits on the right of the decimal. So it has 3, this has 7, this has 7 digits on the right of the decimal. So you retain 3. So your final answer would be 121.795. 5, because this is less than 5, you add 1 to it, and therefore you get 5. This is simple rounding off principle. So this is for addition and subtraction. This is again an example, a different example. Now this has 3 digits after decimal, this has 5 digits, and this has 2 digits. So you retain 2, add them up, retain 2, and that's it, and that becomes your answer. 11.51 into 10 to the power 5. Look at multiplication and division. What you find is, there we do not work with decimal. What we work with digits. We just want to retain fewest digits possible in the final answer, and that will depend upon any value which has the fewest digits, which is used to do multiplication or division. अब जैसे ये value देखो, this has to be multiplied with this. So what you get is this. Now this has 3 significant digits. This has 3 significant digits. So you need to retain 3 significant digits. Significant digits, not decimal. Again, this has 5 significant digits. This has 2 significant digits. The answer is this. Retain only 2 significant digits. Now here, this has 4 significant digits. This has 6 significant digits. Retain only 4 in the final answer. So 14.05. Of course, after rounding off. And finally, rules for logs and antilogs. Rules for logs and antilogs. So this is how it goes. This is an example of, this is an example to find out logs. 2 is the logarithm of 100. When you take log of 100, it is 2. You can find it in your calculator as well. The logarithm of 0.001 is -3, because 0.001 is equal to 10 to the power -3. So this value becomes your answer. This value becomes your answer. Similarly, this value 2 raised to the power 2 becomes your answer. That is how you calculate log. And anti-logarithm is just the opposite of your logs. Now I'll just take an example to make this thing very clear. Now, if you're supposed to take log of this value, so it will be something 2 point something. Okay. Now you will have this answer. This answer has 2 parts. Before decimal and after decimal. Before decimal is known as characteristic. This is the whole number. And this is the thing which has decimal. So this is known as Mantissa. This is known as characteristic. characteristic is 2, and this is the integer part, and this is the decimal part, and decimal part is known as mantissa. So if you take the log of this, you'll get this. Now, how many, when you take a log, you will find a very big value here, 2.530375 something. Now retain as many digits to the right of the decimal in the mantissa, which is related to the number of significant digits here present to find out the log. Now this has 3 digits, significant digits. So retain 3 in the mantissa. Retain 3 in the mantissa. Likewise, what you find here is 3.39 into 10 to the power minus 5. So if you take the log of this, don't worry about this. If you take the log of this, the mantissa should have 3 digits, 1, 2, and 3. 3 significant digits. So retain 3 on the right hand side after decimal. So this is what you come to know from this. Now, taking the antilog, see antilog of minus 3.42. Now this was your, the mantissa, and this is what used to appear like this, right? So you retain 2 digits here, 2 digits here in the mantissa. Should be, the answer should have, the total answer should have 2 significant digits. Now we don't worry about the characteristic and mantissa. Characteristic and mantissa is over. Here what we do is, जितना आपको यहाँ पे digits दिखता है, 2 digits, that digits should be there in the final answer. So likewise, if you look at this, value, if you take log of this, what you get is something like this. This is having 4 significant digits. Retain 4 significant digits after the decimal in the answer. This has 4 significant figures. Retain 4 on the right hand side. This has 2. Retain 2. Antilog. You have 2 here on the right hand side of the decimal. Retain 2. 2 in the final answer. 3. So retain 3. 2.51. So it has 3 significant digits just because of this. And this after decimal thing. So 2 significant digits here, right here 2, here also 2, right here 2. So I hope ये आपको कुछ समझ में आया थोड़ा? If you
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was little fast today, but still I thought कि नहीं आपको मैं ये थोड़ा सा मैं बता ही दूँ. So if see for this I will be giving you or rather I'll be asking you MCQs for such values like this. I can give you, for example, log value of this. What would be the answer for, say, for example, log 0.001237? The answers which I'm going to give you would be this, then something with a 4th digit here, and the 5th digit, 6th digit, 7th digit, and then I'll ask you the answer. So if you know that the significant digits which is used to calculate log should be in the mantissa, so you keep in the mantissa. So if it is 4, write 4 here. This is how I'm going to ask you as an MQC for any of these operations. Either it could be addition, it could be subtraction, multiplication, or division, or even log or antilogs. I'll be asking you at least one question from this. What should be? So if you're clear with the understanding of what are significant digits and how they change, how they depend upon the measuring instrument, what is the role of accuracy, what is the importance of scientific notation, so on and so forth. I'll just quickly, because the next part would be interesting in the sense that some of the things you already know, but even then I'll be making things even more clear, if at all, if you want, regarding chemical concentrations, because this thing which is very useful when you actually work in the lab. You will be preparing several solutions, and then you will be preparing several solutions in different concentrations. some could be in percentage, some could be in molarity, normality, formality, in parts per million, and so on and so forth. There are different ways to express the concentrations of solutions which you prepare. And the second part would be how do you standardize those solutions which you have prepared. So to understand that, I'll just give you a brief idea about chemical concentrations. And so it goes like this. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. It is a homogeneous mixture. Solution has to be a homogeneous mixture, which is very important, of two or more substances. The minor species in solution is known as the solute, and the major species is the solvent. And the concentration states show how much solute is contained in a given volume or mass of a solvent or solution. So all the concentrations, I'm not going to go beyond this, but still, this would be my last slide for today. But still, what I want to convey through this slide is that this slide is what are chemical concentrations. What do we need to understand about a solution? See, solution, as you know, you have been taught, is solute plus solvent is equal to solution. Fine, right? This is what we understand. The minor species is considered to be a solute. The minor species is considered to be a solute. Now, solute is by definition, it could be anything. It could be a liquid also. It could be a gas also. But the minor species becomes a solute. Say, for example, if I ask you to prepare 5% methanol solution in water. If I ask you to prepare 5% methanol solution in water. So methanol becomes a solute and water becomes the solvent. And the combination of this gives me a solution. I'll be taking up practical problems, so that the things become more clear to you. At the same time, you can work on it at home also to understand the different chemical concentrations. But if you are thorough with the units, the significant digits, the accuracy, precision, quantitative and qualitative analysis, chemical concentrations, I think you will feel more confident, and standardization also, you will feel more confident to work as an analyst in analyzing anything with any equipment. See, equipment is something different. It gives you different set of informations. Different instruments give you different information. So, but of course, there are certain things which are common. You always have to prepare solutions for any measuring, with any equipment, whether a very low priced or a high priced equipment. You need to prepare standard solutions. You need to standardize it. So that those are things that are common for any technique, At the same time, you should be clear with the number of significant digits which are supposed to be retained. You should also be clear about certain aspects of analysis, which could be what is an analyte, what is a matrix, what are interferences, what is a homogeneous solution, what is a heterogeneous substance sample, so on and so forth. What is the importance of replicate analysis, so on and so forth. So with this, I end here today. If that is okay with you. Up till now, if you have anything which you wish to ask, please, if you can raise your hand and I'll be happy to respond. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. हाँ, कुछ पूछो, अगर कुछ पूछना है तो I'll be very happy to answer. Yes. Nobody is raising hand. I understand you are tired after 3 hours of lecture, but this is going to be the state of affairs because I'll be coming in the last. So naturally you will be tired, and I do understand. For me also to listen for 3 hours is not simple. Up to 2 hours somehow you manage, but the third hour is very difficult to handle. Okay, so if you don't have anything, fine, you can revise it, and you can read any material which you have. I'll be sharing you this slide very soon. Till then, till we meet again, maybe again on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, I suppose. So keep reading. Thank you. Should I end the meeting? One moment.
Yes,
I'll just take your attendance. Wait a minute. I'll just stop recording.